If you're looking to buy a home in the next couple of months here, I'm here to show you a 3 month game plan on how you can go about this. What has happened a lot of times is people who are interested in coming into the market and buying a home, and you get a little bit nervous, you get confused, you don't really know what's going on. There's a lot of things going on in the news, and it just puts you in a pocket of I have no idea what to do next. Where do I even get started? So I'm about to show you a plan that would clearly depict the whole trajectory, the whole picture of how this whole process looks like for you. And after this, you should have the value on how to move forward and be able to pick up a time that you can go about this to do whatever it is you want to do or whatever property you want to buy. And when you look at this, so this is the 3 month game plan. So the most buyers, what from experience of talking to a lot of people, we usually would take 3 months before they buy a home. So a lot of times when you're ready, you've done all the things that you need to do, and you've obviously done the planning that we're going to talk about, and you've done your whole research. That whole process a lot of times has taken 3 months for all the clients that I've worked with, first time home buyers and seasoned home buyers as well. So this is what I found, and how I'm going to break this down for you is in three categories. So the first thing you're going to do is obviously the planning, which is very important in the beginning as you're going to go through this whole process. Then there's the home hunting, which you want to allow yourself significant time to do the home hunting or finding the home that you're really looking for, the ideal specific home that fits you, your family, or as an investor. However you're looking at this, you want to allow some good amount of time for the home hunting. Then obviously you want to also allow time for closing, which is an important part as well. So how I broke this down for you is, so the planning will take you around, let's say 2 weeks, 10 days to 2 weeks. This year you can speed up this process. It really is dependent on you, because it's one of the most critical parts, I would say. And when you're doing this, it will set you up on how you would be able to, let's say, do your searches, how to go do your home hunting as well. And through this is where you can do some, you now start talking to mortgage brokers. You can organize, like, let's say, a buyer consultation with somebody like myself. So what I have here, I mean, if you want, you can just scan this and you can do a buyer consultation with a real estate agent with myself. You can just scan right there. We'll be able to assist you with that. So that planning is very important. That takes you around, let's say, 2 weeks to, let's say, 10 days if you really want. You can speed it up and do it within 2 to 3 days, really, if you want. Then home hunting is 2 months. I would say that this home hunting is where you want to allow yourself significant amount of time. And when you're working with a real estate professional, this process will be very important. So I have it at 2 months, but this sometimes has ended up taking even around 3 months. And for some people, it's taken just 2 weeks, because once you know exactly what you need, you've written down your wants and needs, this home hunting part here typically would move really fast, or it's just a matter of waiting for exactly what you want to pop up in the market to come in for you to act. The main thing for this is you want to position yourself to be in a place where you can take action. This is the best thing that you can do, and this is why the planning comes in completely well. Because what I found is a lot of people who are, or some of the people that I've been talking to, they start thinking about this whole process and they go into searching online, and before they know it, the home they've been looking at has already sold, has already been applied as sold conditional, and they're wondering, like, every time I'm interested in something, it's gone. So this is why you want to put yourself in a place to take action. Then obviously 1 month, you allow 1 month for closing. Sometimes the closing, depending on your plan, it could take around 2 months. I've had some deals that I've taken around 3 months to close, because some clients need to sell before they end up buying as well. So you put an offer for a property, and it's an offer with the condition of you selling your home. So you want to allow yourself ample amount of time, and it can go up to even 120 days too. So this closing part here, there's a lot of things that are going to go into the closing as well that you have to be aware of, which I'll also break down in the video later on here. So when we go to the first thing, so avoid realtor.ca syndrome. So I've touched on this a little bit. What I mean by this is, you're going into online searches, you're just doing your searches online, you're looking at properties, you're just falling into that feeling of, oh, this house looks good, this kitchen looks good, I would do so much of this. Then you're relating what you like and you see the price that's out there and you want to now qualify yourself to get to that price point of the kind of home that you absolutely want. So, and that is what I mean by you want to avoid this doom scrolling, because it really affects a lot of home buyers, and they come to me after they've done so much scrolling online of some properties they've seen out there, and they say like, okay, Clement, I want this property, and I'm there to disappoint them and tell them like, listen, this is how much you're gonna actually qualify for given the information you just gave me. So if you can avoid, I call it the Realtor.ca syndrome, because I see it a lot of times when somebody's sitting down for a buyer consultation with me and they're giving me this information in terms of what they've seen online, and it's quite the thing to go through all the time. So you want to be in a position to take action, as I've mentioned, then you'll be able to move fast. So this is obviously after you've done your first 2 weeks of the planning, you'll be in a really good position to take solid action here, because now you're just looking online and looking for the type of properties that you want, knowing that you sat down with a mortgage broker if need be, you sat down with a realtor, and you already know everything that's going into that. I'm going to talk about these two parts here. So you've already looked at that. You already know your wants and needs, which you'll cover as well. And you've written them down. And as you're doing your searches, you're now in a position to take action. Because a lot of times, if you don't do this and you're just scrolling all the time, the market won't wait for you. So you'll keep on seeing some good deals out there. You'll see some news happening. You'll see whatever your neighbor has sold for, whatever your friend has said, and the market really does not wait for you, because if you're not ready, you will lose the good deal that's there. Or you might, on the flip side, you might be like, okay, it's a good thing that I did not do anything, because if I bought it at this time, I would have been overpaying at that point. But this is where really a buyer consultation is very important, because we do coincide your needs and your wants, and obviously where you are at that stage of where you're searching, to make it really customized to your preference, so that you don't be in a position where you're either overpaying for a property or you're not taking advantage of some homes because of the type of criteria that are there. So there's always ideas on how we can go about this depending on what it is you're looking for in this type of buyer consultations as well. So that's a very good thing to look out for. Then you want to really keep it within your budget. This is very important, guys, honestly, because a lot of times, and this is where you avoid the syndrome that I just talked about, because if you're not very careful on here, you end up compromising and paying a little bit more than what you anticipated on the budget. And what we mean by the budget, a lot of times buyers focus a lot on the purchase price. The purchase price being, let's say, 800,000, right? But what you really want to be focusing on here is your monthly payment. So your monthly payment is where your budget is, and your monthly payment is what will influence your purchasing price. So if you can afford on a monthly basis, let's say you can afford 4,000 per month as a couple, how much will this get you? Will this be able to get you an $800,000 property, or will this get you a $700,000 property? So this here is the budget that you want to really pay attention to, because this is what will influence your purchasing price. And this is where a lot of people get mixed up a lot. They focus so much on the purchase price, which is good, but you go from here first, and then this stretches you. Let's say 4,000 is the utmost maximum you can actually work with comfortably, but you end up going for let's say a $950,000 property, and it brings you to, let's say, even 4,500 to 4,800. So that's an extra $500 or $800 a month that you put on your budget, that you'll not have to figure out exactly where that's going to come from. And remember, this is not just a 1 year thing. This is the type of mortgage you've taken is maybe a 5 years, amortized over 30 years. So you have to be very careful on how you're looking at this. So as I've said here, let your budget guide you to what works best for you. And this is very important. So this is literally on day 1 to 3 as you're looking at your home search here. After this, on day 4 to 7, so this is within your first week of your planning. So we're still in the first week of the planning here. You want to now get pre-approved. So getting pre-approved, you want to make sure you can get a mortgage. So, and this is where the planning of the budget comes in. So it's one thing to do the soft application on, and you can do it. There's so many tools out there. You can go to a TD bank and they have a mortgage application online there for you. If you want a specific custom type of mortgage application, obviously, again, you can just send me a message, and I'll be able to send you a link that you can go through, and you can actually just do a soft application. It will not touch your credit, so it'll just give you an idea of where you are. But I would say you don't want to depend on that, because you want to see the different type of loan that are out there for what type of loan types that are there for you. That way you're able to obviously shop for the best interest rate. And a lot of times I would say a mortgage broker is very good to work with here, because a mortgage broker typically would be able to shop the best rates for you. And the mortgage broker will have access to all the, let's say, the big five banks, as you know of them, like the TD, the CIBC, BMO, RBC. Then they'll also have like some of their own private lenders, the credit unions. So a mortgage broker will be able to shop around for you. I always advise to go with a mortgage broker as opposed to just going with the bank. And I understand you might have been with the bank for 10, 20 years, so you feel like you can trust them. But I would say use a mortgage broker. If you don't know any mortgage broker, once you sit down with a buyer consultation with a real estate agent, a lot of times the real estate agent would have a mortgage broker in their team that they could recommend for you. I do have a mortgage broker that I would recommend to you, and all great. I always kind of have it suited to exactly what your needs are. So, and you have the option to pick which one you prefer. You're not obligated to work with them. You can choose. If you don't like somebody on how they're communicating, I don't want to deal with this person, that's fine. You can find somebody else. But I still would advise to work with a mortgage broker, because you want to be clear with your numbers. This is very important. Before you start searching for homes, you have to be very clear with your numbers, because this will help you when you're going out there to do that shopping for that home. A lot of times people go out there not clear on the numbers. They feel like, hey, I can afford a $900,000 property. I'll just submit an offer and we'll put it conditional on finance, and then we'll find out. So that is, yes, you can do it. You can get through with it, but it is slightly of a risk. You're going in it blind, as you can say. You're a deer in front of headlights. Sometimes you might be able to jump across and miss, but a lot of times you don't want to put yourself in this type of position, because remember, guys, this is a big investment. You've saved a lot of money to put yourself in this position, which is really good. So you want to at least do it right, So the next thing here is figure out what you really want. So this, after you've understood how much your budget is, after you've understood, you've talked to a mortgage broker, you've planned that, they've given you a good idea of where you stand in terms of the purchase price and your monthly payment that you can do. Now, I would say figure out exactly what you want, what you really want. And here, list your needs and wants. I know I used to hate doing homework, trust me. And if I could not do them, I wouldn't do it. So I know the frustration behind the needs and wants. I had a client of mine who I explained this to her, and they wrote it, the pros and cons, and I was like, put it in an Excel sheet, and they sent it to me. I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I'm not saying every client needs to do that, but the few that do, I can tell you the process is so seamless. I kid you not. It's so seamless as you're going through looking at the properties. It helps the profession, helps me help you. It helps you be at a much more clarity as you're walking through the homes. A lot of times buyers feel emotionally attached to a home, and you'll do anything to get this home. And I understand it. And you might actually be willing to get past your budget because you're so emotionally attached to it. But if you have your needs and wants clear, this really helps you out, and you start considering your future growth with this as well, because once you've written that down and you understand what you can compromise and what you don't want to compromise, let's say you're a young family, some of the things that you really want to look out for is to make sure that you're right by, let's say, a hospital, because you think you might have to have kids. You think the type of house you want maybe want a backyard, or you want a 2-car garage. This is another thing that I find. But so you want to factor in your mortgage. or your budget here, you can now start saying, okay, what can I slash out to reduce this, to make it make sense for me to be able to get to what I need as opposed to what I want, right? So there's a few things which will help you in terms of your budget and your purchasing price and see where you are. Then the other thing that I know a lot of people don't talk about, I love talking about this in my buyer consultations. I always try to talk about the exit plan. You're planning your exit when you're buying for the first time. So whether you're coming to me as a first-time home buyer, or we're sitting down for the first time as a seasoned home buyer, you're thinking of selling your home and buying another home, I always would talk to you about your exit plan. What's your next plan? So we call this a real estate action plan. If you want one of this here, I could literally send it to you and we can break it down together. And we can, if you already own a home and you're thinking of coming into another one, I still talk to you about your real estate action plan, and we plan it out for the next 3, 5 years, 10 years, depending on what is important to you. And through this, you're able to now probably buy two. I have a client now that has 5 properties and they started with 1. So through this real estate action plan. So it's a very good thing to look at, and it starts with your exit plan. So you're looking at a property in a micro area that would appreciate very well. And you also want to look at what are the investment options for you on that home. So if you're buying this home and you were to sell it in, let's say, 3 years or in 5 years, let's say you're buying a condo. In today's market, you might have to plan for this time period here, 5 years. So what are you thinking of buying in 5 years' time? Are you thinking of buying a detached home? So how much will your condo be appreciating by? So you put in a 20% down payment. Let's say you put in a down payment of $100,000. For you to buy the type of home that you're looking for, you want this property to appreciate, but you want this $100,000 that you put down here to go up to at least $200,000. So you're hoping the home that you purchase appreciates in 5 years by at least $200,000, which will allow you to now purchase the detached home that you're looking for. So this is what I mean by the exit plan, And if you have kids, if your kids are, let's say, 10 years old, 5 years old, so you're looking at rental income. The rental income property is an investment for them as well. So this is another option on what you want to look at as you're buying it for the first time as a first-time home buyer. I know a lot of first-time home buyers don't think about this, but I like to position the first-time home buyers that I'm working with in this type of position. That way you're thinking about the after. And also, when you're buying a home and you're thinking of doing renovations to it, I think it's important to look into the type of renovations you're thinking of doing. You don't want to do, obviously you're doing renovations that please you, but you want to do renovations that will transcend throughout. A general type of renovation that will transcend through whichever market, so that when you put your property up in the market, it's going to be appeasing to all buyers, and it's not going to just appease to a certain type of pocket of buyer, because you've now reduced your pool of buyers that could potentially buy your home, and your home is now going to have dropped down in value per se. So the next thing here, you want to plan for your real estate team. And on here, I would say the major thing is find a real estate agent. So if you have a good real estate agent, a lot of times, like myself, I have a full team with myself. I have a lawyer in my team. I have a mortgage broker in my team, an inspector, as well as a contractor in the case of you wanting to do some renovations. So with this option here, I'll save clients of mine thousands of dollars from purchasing a home that's going to cost an extra, let's say, 50, 60,000, and really you just needed to change, do some renovations to the home, and that would cost you 20,000 really. And we do this through a contractor. They come in there, they do the assessment to it, and they'll give you the quote and let you know how much that would actually cost, and you'll be able to move forward with it. But a lot of times you want to have a real estate team. If you can do this on your own, perfect. If you know people and you want to interview a lawyer, you want to interview a mortgage broker, an inspector, if you need a contractor, that's just a bonus. But an inspector, mortgage broker, a lawyer, if you know them on your own, okay, you can have that whole team. If you want to do the whole transaction by yourself, that's how you do it. You need this as your team. You need a lawyer, a mortgage broker, and an inspector as well. So these are the major ones that you need. I will say a real estate agent is good to have, because as a buyer, the real estate agent is paid by the seller. So this is the one area here that is not going to cost you in the closing cost, because a buyer agent, I would work on your behalf. I would have fiduciary duties to you, and I would negotiate my commission with the seller. So a lot of home buyers think that they would be paying a real estate agent to work for them. No, a real estate agent is typically paid by the seller. So it's important to really have somebody that's really good and let them do everything for you. So that is a really good thing to have your real estate team for yourself. Now, moving forward, you're now on day 15. So this is the end of your 2-week planning. You've talked to your mortgage broker, you've talked to real estate agents, you've made your mind up on whether you want to do this by yourself. You're clear on your wants and needs. Now we come in here on the last few weeks before you're now going into your home hunting now. So the first thing that I have here that you really want to look into is explore neighborhood on foot, or drive and narrow down your ideal area. So this is important. Just really drive into the neighborhood that you're interested in. Like, you want a certain pocket, go and see how it is. Go on a weekend, go on a weekday. Drive from work to that neighborhood and see the timing that will take you. Because I kid you not, for some clients, I've always broken this down for them. You might want to move an extra 15 minutes away, which will save you just almost $50,000. So for example, what I mean by this, you really want a property in Pickering, but if you were able to just move to Whitby, which would be an extra 15 minutes, that same type of home would cost less in terms of value by around 50 to 60,000. So you want to do those laps around there and just walk, maybe park your car. Maybe right now during the winter it's different, but during the summer you can do these things. And I advise every one of my clients to do that, and you'll see your result is much better as well. Then you want to get direct MLS access to boost your home search. A lot of times myself, I'm going to do a video on this and to show you how you really want to do your home search. I give my clients all direct access. I customize your search completely according to what you want. Before we go out and look at any property, I try and make sure the homes that I've sent you, I always look at it every morning. My assistant, my team, we always look at the properties for you that are coming in the market. And at the same time we get it, we make sure you get it as well. Or there's some properties that you might be driving, or you might see something by yourself and you send it to us. A lot of times what we do before we go out and view any of these properties in person, I like to do the back end search. Look at the value of it. Does it match the value that you have been approved, your budget really? I call the sellers. I talk to the sellers and gauge what their understanding is, understand where they are in terms of the valuation. Are they sensible? Then I relay this message to you, and we go and view some of these properties if you are okay with the information that's there. But the main thing is you get direct access to the MLS. I know with a lot of the websites that are out there, I have my own website. Again, if you just scan in here or go to the top of my YouTube channel, you'll see the website that I have, and you can literally search whatever neighborhood you want to look into, and you'll find the exact property or the properties that you might be interested in. So browse listings online with a realistic perspective. So on this here, you now have a clear understanding of your budget. So when you're doing your search here, you have a very good understanding of what you're looking for. So if you've been approved for $950,000, so this is where after a buyer consultation, we've explained to you what's going on in the current real estate market and showing you the versions of the negotiations in terms of how properties are being listed, because it's very important to understand on this point here. Let me just put it here. It's very important to understand what a marketing price is. Marketing price is literally, this is what a lot of the properties are listed for. So you might find a property that's listed for, let's say you've been approved for this 950, and this same property is listed for, let's say 980,000 in today's market. Why is this? Because today's market, you'll find that there's a lot, and it depends on the type of property. A lot of times you'll find this property is negotiable to go a little bit lower to that 950, and you'll even find it even to 940. And this works for certain type of markets. In 2022, absolutely this is not working. In today's market, high likelihood of this working are very high. So it depends on the market that you're in, and this is where this buyer consultation is important, because depending on the pocket that you're looking into, we give you that information on that specific area. And as you're doing your online searches, I might end up sending you properties that are $1 million, and you're wondering, why are you sending me this property that are $1 million? You want me to overspend? So this is why I explained to them, like, listen, I'm sending you this property because I know you have an opportunity to actually negotiate and get it at a lower price. So there's a lot of things that you need to look into that with that. And then attend at least one open house. It's good to have a good idea of some of these open houses or that you see in the neighborhood that you absolutely like. So on a weekend, if you have some time, just drive there with your husband, your wife, family, and just go into an open house. I typically would list a lot of the open houses that I have. If you want to be among those people that receive those messages, just send me a message, text me, and I'll text me your email address, and I'll put you in that list of any open houses that I have for all the properties that I have in the market. I'll always send it to you. And if you pretty much matches your criteria, you might just come in and look at the properties there. But I would advise, yes, going into an open house is a really good idea as well. Then discuss your needs and goals with your realtor. This should be at the top, because through the buyer consultation, we would have already discussed all this needs and your needs and your goals to have a really good understanding of where you stand and how to approach this. And I think it's very important to work with somebody that's willing to understand where you are. And when it comes times for negotiation, you absolutely trust the person's communication style. And when I'm saying to you, like, hey, we might need to go up by another 20,000 so that you can get this property, you feel, or you'll know that this is coming from a place of competence and not incompetence, showing you the comparables of what are sold in and around there, why this property is valued at an extra 20,000. Or you might want to go a little bit over than what you really should, and I'll be the one to tell you, like, listen, you don't really need to go that much higher. You can just stay here and let's see what the sellers will do. So it's important to work with a realtor that would work on your behalf and look out for your absolute needs and your understanding your future 3-5 year goals on what you're looking for, what your family and yourself are looking for as well. So, and the next thing here, you want to take action now. So this is where, after you've seen everything that you want, you have the confidence, you've done the work, you've done everything that we've just talked about. And now you're at a place where when you see the property you want to move forward with, you'll be more confident. You'll be more in a position to just submit an offer. And how the offer process really works, you submit the offer, and then you go through the negotiations. Typically, these negotiations will always happen within 24 hours. Sometimes they go 48 hours, but within 24 hours, you should know where you stand. And under the offer, it could either be conditional or it could be a firm offer. So when it's conditioned, the type of conditions that you always come across would be, there'll be a finance condition, there'll be an inspection condition. This is a status certificate. This is if you're buying a condominium and you'll obviously have to get the status certificate reviewed by the lawyer, and this status certificate is produced by the seller. So that's a good thing there. The other conditions, so these are the major conditions that you always incur. And for this ones here, you're looking to be in and around, typically you could get them between 1 to 10 business days. But what I found in the business, a lot of times you'll see it's always five business days for these conditions. For the status certificate, usually the seller has 10 days to produce the status certificate. Then after that, they'll have 2 to 3 business days for the lawyer to review it. So it's a little bit separate there. And then other type of conditions would be, there's other type of condition that you might have in there. Let's say you're a seller and you're putting an offer conditional on your home selling. So you have conditional on your home selling. So that could be a condition. I don't know why a seller would accept that, but as a buyer, you can put it in there and try. In this market, this is no, unless the offer is really good, honestly, and then that's when you might work with it. But there's other conditions that you can have in there. Let's say maybe it's conditional on the seller fixing some type of renovation in there. There's other conditions that you can put in there. But once your offer is firm, you're buying it to the property. Your deposit is now into the listing agent's office, and you're not bonded to that property. You're at risk of losing the deposit if you back out of the deal. So at this point, once it's firm, you own the property, now unless it comes to now the closing part here where the lawyer is now involved. Now here's where you have the lawyer involved. Once the lawyer gets involved, and that's where the lawyer will either pull title, do the title search, and if there's any type of adjustment, this is the only other time that you can potentially back out of a deal, because the seller, let's say there's a lien in a property that you did not know of, or the seller was not privy to, they've not paid taxes for a long time. Property taxes have not been paid for a very long time. So this will be revealed by the lawyer once they take out the title. And if the seller does not want to pay, you have the right to back out of it. So then obviously this is moving. But once you get to this part here, you found a home that you like, everything is good, take action. Absolutely take action, because the type of home that you want, if it's a really good home, most likely there's more than one person that would want that same type of home. So the quicker you act, the more you might actually save yourself, because if it's just you on the table, you have the ability to negotiate. If it's 3 buyers on the table, now there's a likelihood of you paying 10 to maybe another 20,000 extra, just because there's other buyers on the table. So taking action is a very, very important part. Now let's finalize your purchase. So when you're finalizing your purchase here, so your seller has accepted your offer. So this is now, we're in the 30 to, let's say, 60 days of closing. Now your offer has already been accepted at this point. So your offer has been accepted at this point. So your offer has been accepted by the seller. And now the lenders will send you initial documents. So they might ask for extra documents at this point. So on closing, usually this is around within this last month, you're dealing with a mortgage broker. You're dealing with your lenders here. And at that point, they might ask for extra documents. Let's say they might ask for your last 2 pay stubs, or they might have seen something on your credit report, or they might ask for you to go make sure that you have a letter to show that whatever you owe has been paid. So on here, they might ask for extra documents. Don't be frustrated. I know a lot of sometimes some buyers get frustrated, like, why is the mortgage broker asking for all these documents? It's important you provide those during closing so that you can actually have a successful closing. Then a home appraisal. Sometimes the mortgage brokers might ask for an appraisal. They might do a soft appraisal where they might not need to send somebody there, but if they need to send somebody in there, so that's going to be a cost to you on closing that the mortgage broker will let you know of. A lot of times with the numbers, the mortgage broker will already give you different options on what you can do on a monthly basis. Literally, you do want to have a mortgage broker that gives you that different type of options that you can really pick from, and you're almost shopping for the monthly payment that you can get at that point. And then obviously there's a home inspection. This is what I covered in the previous page there. This is a part of the condition that you have in there. During this, it's mostly called a buyer showing. So a lot of times, typically you do have 2 buyer showings during the closing period. So during the closing period, you'd have the opportunity to go into the property at least 2 times. Some people like to do maybe even 3 times. And usually during this period, I always advise maybe you're starting to do the shopping for your home. You're trying to see what's there for one of the days, one of the 2 that you have booked there. And then on the last one is when I advise just try and look at the washer and dryer, try and make sure all the equipment are working very well, all the fixtures are working pretty good. And if there's anything that's not working good, you take it to the lawyer. Then the title search is typically done 2 weeks before closing, and the lawyer will always let you know if anything has happened with the property, or if everything is good with the home that you're about to buy. If there's any liens, as I mentioned earlier, then you will know for sure. Then the last thing is just sign your final document. So this period here always takes at least 2 weeks. Sometimes you might end up, depending on the kind of closing you have, because there's some closing that are really quick and it might end up happening beforehand. But on a typical standard, I like to have my clients within that 2 weeks. You have a good idea where everything is in terms of your closing is going to be very smooth. You've talked to the mortgage broker, you've talked to the lawyer. Then that's when you come in and you sign your documents and you're just waiting for the closing date to move. And at that time is when you can organize what you need to do with either your movers, or if you have your friends, you can pop some champagne, whatever it is you want to do on the moving date. That's what you do with this. So I hope you found some good value from all this information that I have here for you. Again, as I mentioned, just if you want to sit down with myself, scan this QR code, schedule a time that's preferable to you, and we'll sit down for a buyer consultation. We'll look at your plan and we'll set up a real estate action plan, a REAP as we call it, and we'll see where we'll take it from where you are and then move forward. So whether you are 9 days or even 6 months, even a year, whatever you are at this point, an open conversation doesn't hurt, and I'll guide you on how you can move forward from where you're standing at. So until next time, see you on the next video. Thank you.